Hi everyone, I'm Carol Keller from Illinois in the US, and I'm excited to be sharing my project with you for this weekend's Global SU Share Fair. I will be using the beautiful Daffodil Afternoon Designer Series paper and the Daffodil Daydream bundle, which is a stamp set and a set of dies. So I'm excited for that. I will turn my camera around right away so that we can get started with the project. All right, let me just pull up the card. And actually, I will be showing you a project that you can make two cards at the same time. And you'll see in the very first couple of steps why that is. I'm only going to put one of them together today, but you will be able to make two at a time. And they look like this. So using, again, that beautiful paper, I hope to show you at the end what it looks like because it's gorgeous. So I will leave just one card here. And we are starting with a very vanilla card base. I feel like I use basic white almost all the time, so I was excited to use vanilla because I like to change it up every once in a while. So we're just going to fold it and give it a score or a burnish with the bone folder. It's already scored. And put that aside. And then for my first layer, I have some Designer Series paper. And I actually have two pieces that are the same size. This I have already cut, and the next one I'm going to show you. And so you're going to cut them the same way. So let me bring in my trimmer, and I just want to show you how to do that. You just put the points, make sure you can see, I'm going to put it way up here. You put the opposite points into your channel and just make sure they're in there. But what you do want to remember is that you don't want to start below the point or above the point on this side, because sometimes it kind of crunches it and it doesn't cut right. So if you just start up a little bit, again, I'm double checking that that's in the channel where I want it so I get a good cut, and kind of go down and then up. And in that way, if you do that, you get beautiful cuts and you won't get crunchy, raggedy ends. So do remember that. And so you end up with two sheets of Designer Series paper that look like this, and we're just going to switch, and those are going to be your cards. So I'm going to take one away because, like I said, we're only going to use one today, and I'm going to adhere them to my card front with some multi-purpose liquid glue. And then we're going to line this up along the bottom and the right hand side, which is why the glue is nice, because you can position it right where you want it before it dries. And I came up with a little tip. Sometimes I have a new blade in my trimmer. Let's see if we can see it here a little bit. I don't know if you can see it on camera, but there's a little bit of a ridge there just because of the blade being new. And I found if I just give it a wipe across with my bone folder, it disappears. So I forgot to say that. And I just like the look of that better. There's not a little ridge on the edge. And it just kind of disappears like magic, which I like. All right, and we will put the other one on. And there we go. And we just line it up with all three edges. And so we've got our card front. And we're going to put that aside and do some stamping. So I have a little scrap of pale papaya. And I've got my Flirty Flamingo ink. The sentiments actually come from the Honeybee Home stamp set. And the reason I did that is that the sentiments that come with the Daffodil Daydream set are for Mother's Day and Easter. I just thought it was a little too early to be making cards for that, but you could if you're more organized than I am and think that far ahead. And so you're making two cards, so you're going to stamp it twice, and I do need to re-ink my Flirty Flamingo, so I'm going to make sure I get good ink on there. And then we're going to cut those out. I'm going to put that aside for a second because we're also going to stamp the inside, and again, you would do both cards. And for that, I'm using Stay Wonderful. Love that. And then you would do that obviously on both cards. And that is all our stamping with the Flirty Flamingo. The next part of our stamping, we are bringing in some Very Vanilla again, and this wonderful bouquet of daffodils from that Daffodil Daydream stamp set, and my Memento Black. And we're going to ink it up. I like doing it this way when the stamp is larger than the ink pad. Normally I flip it over the other way. And we're going to stamp that twice. And then cut it out. Cut both of them out. And I'm just going to do it this way to save space and be able to use the rest of that sheet. And of course I already have cut them out. So let me move this aside. And this, and I want to show you too which die I used for that. It's the smallest in the Stitch So Sweetly's die. So the smallest one is the one that I use. And this we're going to use and cut out in Flirty Flamingo. But I wanted to show you because it fits, it's pretty close. But if I just lined it up with the tops of the letters and made sure it was centered, and then ran it through my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. And so we end up with this. And I cut out again Flirty Flamingo with the larger die. And we have our flower bouquet. So now I'm going to bring in some Stampin' Blends. And I won't color the whole thing on camera to save time, but I will show you. I used, this is the dark old olive that I used for the stems. And just kind of, I'm using the brush end, but I'm using it very carefully to just color in all of the stems. And again, I'm not going to do all of them. And I use the dark pale papaya for the bud here. And for, I kind of decided these were buds. They may be the ends of the leaves, but I decided I wanted to add a little more of the color from the pale papaya, so I made them buds. And then anywhere there's a line on the petals of the flowers of the daffodils, I just used my dark pale papaya. And then I wanted to just do an edge around that little cup of the flower, just like that. And then come back in with the light pale papaya and do the fill-in, leaving the bottom of that cup in the Very Vanilla, just to give it a little contrast. And you could do it either way. You can do your light pale papaya first and then your dark. And I may even go back, I may do it, I think I kind of recommend it that way, because then you can really add a little more with the dark. But I'm going to set that aside. You get the idea. That is how I colored all of them. And of course I have one already colored in that looks like this. And so we're going to start our assembly. The other thing I did too, just because I don't want to forget to put it in, is I cut a strip again of the Designer Series paper that we're going to use on the inside. So I think we'll do that right away, and then we'll work on the outside. So for this you could use your Stampin' Seal, but since I've got the multi-purpose liquid glue handy, I'm going to use that because we are lining it up on the edge too. So that is helpful for positioning. And of course you could use any of the Designer Series paper in the pack. I just chose these, but I liked the two colors, the Flirty Flamingo and the Pale Papaya on this one, because I felt it coordinated with what's on the front. I'm going to give that one more burnish with my bone folder. I want it nice and flat. And then for assembly, we have our label, and I just put this on the flower bouquet on with my Stampin' Seal. And I centered it. I made sure that the leaves were centered on the bottom, the stems I should say, not the leaves. and that the flowers are pretty centered. Move it over just a little bit, I think. Yeah. And then we're going to put the Miss You right down at the bottom, again using my Stampin' Seal toward the top, because I know that part's going to be adhered to the little tag, the little label, and centered that along the bottom. For the next step, I have my Flirty Flamingo metallic ribbon. So pretty. I love the little sparkle that it adds. So I just cut off a little loop. All right, so we're going to adhere with glue dots. We're going to adhere that. Did I get it? I don't think I did. There we go. Adhere the loops together. And then I'm going to put 1 or 2 glue dots on the back, or actually what's going to become the front, is we're going to flip that around and adhere it here first. I did it the other way up. I think I got 1 glue dot off of there and 1 on here. Let's go. I did it the other way first. We're going to put Stampin' Dimensionals on the back. And when I did that, there was already 1 in the way. So it really makes sense to put that ribbon on first. And I kind of laid it so it was over the stems. And now we're going to put our Stampin' Dimensionals on the back. But I love Sale-a-Bration. I love being able to earn all of these beautiful stamp sets and papers and dies for free. It's so much fun. My favorite time of year. All right, and we're just going to center that. And last but not least, we must have our bling. And so I've got the Champagne Rhinestone Basic Jewels. And I'm going to grab my Take Your Pick tool, and we'll put a few. Let's see, I think we'll do maybe 1 of each size since there are 3 sizes, but we're going to change it up. Use the big one up there, and maybe the medium one here, and the little tiny one back up at the top. And that's it. There's our card. What do you think? And again, I'm going to bring in the other one just to show you what it looks like for the other version, since like I said, you can do 2 at a time. So they're exactly the same except the papers are reversed. And I like that because, you know, if you're making a lot of cards, it's really fun to just make a whole bunch at the same time and not do them 1 at a time. So I really like that. So I hope you do like my card. Here are 2 more sets of cards that I created with a different sheet of the Designer Series paper from that same paper pack. And for this, it's directional on both sides. So because of that, instead of cutting them both at the same corner, you cut them at opposite corners. So from upper left to lower right, and from upper right to lower left on the other one. And I also wanted to have the more neutral Designer Series paper at the top. So I created this one, and it's exactly the same. You cut them at opposite corners, upper left to lower right, upper right to lower left, and then you just flip them. You flip 1 of each of them, and then they match up correctly. So just so you know that too, and so you can see another variation. But those are the cards that I made today. I hope you like all of them. All right, and let me show you the supplies that I used for this project. First is the Daffodil Daydream stamp set, and of course the companion daffodil dies. And I want to show you, I always cut out the dies and then put them together. And so we just used this one today, but there are so many others, and they combine to make these flowers, and these can be combined to make layered flowers. It's just absolutely gorgeous. So love that die set. And then because the sentiments for this one are Mother's Day and Easter blessings, and it's only January. I decided to use a different stamp set for the sentiments. So I used Honeybee Home, Miss You for the outside and Stay Wonderful for the inside. But this is another wonderful set that has companion dies. And you can get those in a bundle at 10% off for both of them, those and the daffodils. I used the Stitch So Sweetly dies, this largest one for our frame in Flirty Flamingo, and then the smallest one to cut out the Miss You for the sentiment on the front. And of course, I'm going to show you our beautiful designer series papers, that Daffodil Afternoon DSP. Here is each of the front sides. And each of the back sides. And you saw we used this sheet. As you can see, it's cut down. That's what I use for my card. And this one for the strip. But lots of coordinating colors that go with the front sides. Lots of wonderful designs to choose from. So of course you could use some of the other combinations if you wanted to for that same card. You could use, for example, this with the coordinating on the back. So lots of options. I think I may actually do that. Try some other color combos with that same design. And then I used the wonderful Flirty Flamingo metallic ribbon and the beautiful champagne rhinestone basic jewels. Love these, very versatile. And if you are looking for these items in the catalog, this is where you'll find them. This is the Sale-a-Bration brochure, and here's that beautiful Daffodil Afternoon DSP and some ideas for using it along with that wonderful bundle. This is where I actually got the idea for that card. That was my jumping off point. And then in the mini catalog, page 37 is where you will find the Daffodil Daydreams bundle, the stamp set, and the dies. And again, some ideas for how to use them. So if you are shopping, that's where you need to look. So thanks again for joining me today. I really appreciate you watching. If you want to leave me some love in the comments, that would be fabulous. I always appreciate that too. And remember that on my YouTube channel, I have lots of card ideas, scrapbook pages, 3D items for home decor, tips, techniques, all sorts of wonderful things. So paper pumpkin alternatives, I try to do those every month. So take a look around my channel and I'm sure you'll find something you like. Take care, everyone, and I will see you again soon. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.